as we start getting all of this school information from our schools and from our districts, I think it's time we just start talking about how we're feeling about going back to school. Not only the kiddos, but the adults. And no matter where we stand, and I say stand because it's obviously very polarizing, nobody feels awesome about school, whatever option it is. And so I want to talk about what I've seen probably the most leading up to this. And it was happening in March and April. A lot of parents will say, hey, you know, Johnny's been doing great. It's summer. It's been beautiful weather. They get exercise. And now the last 2 to 4 weeks have really started to creep in. And so if your kiddo is struggling with falling to sleep, struggling getting to sleep, once they're asleep, they're not asleep for long and they're up and down. And obviously in the morning, then they're tired, right? They have low energy during the day, but they have this edge and this angst that they don't know. They don't know, they know they don't feel good, but they're not sure why, right? They may have a tendency of being a little bit OCD. So, Mom, where are we going? What's going on today? Can you give me a schedule at 10 o'clock and at 11 o'clock, and then we come home for lunch. And if we like veer off that, divvy off that, they're not adaptable. And me as a chiropractor looking at a kid like this, and I believe this is rampant right now. This is what I've seen in my practice is the kids who didn't struggle with anything are starting to feel a little bit icky. If they ask their friends how they're doing, a little bit icky, or if parents are starting to ask about their friends as kids, we're starting to see this personality change a little bit, and we're starting to see behaviors come out. And as much as it's common because it's happening and it's happening to a ton of kids, I will urge you that it's not normal. We don't want our kids going into school, or if it's all distance learning or whatever your setup is, you don't want them not feeling good. And I mean, in every way. I mean, your brain, to not have the brain fog that these kids have right now, to not feel like they can even breathe because they're always anxious and their pulse is high. And if we change direction on them, they can't adapt, and they have tantrums and they're not sleeping great. So they're moody during the day. So now what happens when we put them into school and now they're masked, they're uncomfortable, they maybe aren't with the teacher they want, they're not with the group they want, they're only there for 2 days and the rest of the days are home. And maybe the rest of the days that they're home, the rest of their good friends are in school, even though you're probably not going to see anybody. They're worried about their sports happening. They're worried about choir and music not happening. They're worried about not being able to move as much. So if we don't have sports, we don't have exercise. These are key things, guys. And so how can we help them? How can we make sure their brain is clear, their immune system is strong, they're adaptable, they're not stressed out, and yet at the same time, we're not avoiding the conversations? Because if Johnny's stressed right now, school hasn't even begun. We haven't even started a routine. What happens when they're in school with a small group they don't love, or they're struggling with learning, or they have cold sandwiches for lunch now? What happens to Johnny? Does he fall through the cracks? What happens to Johnny if he's struggling with learning and now he's not feeling good about himself and he's not confident? You got to get him checked. And when I say checked, I mean like true spinal, brain, nerve scan check to see how their body is handling life. This is not about, well, Johnny's neck doesn't hurt and Jane doesn't have headaches. I don't even know why you would do that. It's about making sure your kid is given the best opportunity as ever before they start something new that isn't that comfortable. When we get in situations that aren't that comfortable, when we get in situations that are more stressed, we're squeezed. And when we're squeezed, what comes out of us is what's actually in us. So when Johnny's struggling with behavior, or Jane is struggling with PMS or crazy moods, or we got to go to the doctor because we got to modify those anxiety meds. Like, that is the sign that your kiddo is struggling. And if we as parents don't know, or maybe you've tried 10 different things and you're tired, you're hopeless, you're helpless, you're frustrated, and the worst part is that you don't feel like you can help Johnny or Jane, that's when it's time to call us. And time to look for a different solution, a whole body solution to life. It's not about one thing. If there's constipation happening, that's not normal. But it's not just that. I imagine their moods are struggling, probably getting sick a little bit more often. If anxiety is high, we know that sleep is probably energy is low, tolerance is low. You might see some of this retreating, so they don't want to be with their friends all the time. They just want to be home because they don't feel good. So in this time, it's stressful. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to handle things at home, in our marriage, in our family, with grandparents, with homeschoolers, with all the things that we still have to do, right? Work, take care of our family. And sometimes Johnny gets left to the wayside. And I'm asking that you just take inventory of your kids right now, and take inventory now, so that in 3 or 4 weeks when we go back, we don't have a nightmare happening, and then we wish we would have done something. We would wonder what would have happened if we would have taken action, if we would have looked for a solution. So I'm feeling the world right now, and feeling all of the kiddos in my practice, and all of the moms and dads that aren't really sure how this is going to look. And not only are we a resource for better health, healing, adaptability, resilience, all of those kind of things, but to be able to talk through some things and find some solutions, I think is really important. When your tribe is like the most important part, right? And when you do better and when you feel better, your tribe is better. So looking outside of you and your circle, maybe what you know, for people who are going to help you find those solutions, or going to help you find a path that is the best for Johnny. It might be difficult now, but man, when these kiddos get into school in this stressful environment, we're going to start seeing some difficult things come through. Adapting is going to be different than it was before in the normal school experience. So this might be you that I'm talking to. It might be the mom and dad that's struggling with anxiety too. It's one of all the same. I just urge you to take note of yourself or your family, and let's find solutions. Let's get it fixed now. Bye guys, and have an awesome day.